Natalie Montfort-Tadier, a States Member in Jersey. I'm here to talk to you about the forthcoming by-elections which are taking place on the 5th of March, that's next Wednesday. The by-elections were of course called and caused by the fact that Deputies Shona Pittman and Trevor Pittman lost their seats, not due to a result or decision of the ballot box and the people, but as a consequence of our judicial system. As a result, we are in a position now of electing 2 new members, and I think it's important that the 2 new members that are elected will be those who will continue the same fight for social justice, democracy and the ordinary working people of the island. It has to be noted that the former deputies were committed to social justice and these principles and worked hard both within the states and without for their constituents and anyone who lived on the island who came to them, and they will be missed as a result. Nonetheless, we have an opportunity now with electing 2 new candidates. In St Helier number 1 we have Nick Cornu, and in St Helier number 2 Sam Mezek. Both are members of Reform Jersey. They will fight for principles of social, economic, political and environmental reforms. I'd like to speak briefly about them individually and collectively about what I think that they can bring to the States and why you should consider giving them your vote this Wednesday. In St Helier District number 1, your Reform candidate is Nick Cornu. Nick was a founding member of the movement Time for Change, which organised the rally in 2008 in support of abuse survivors. He has helped organise demonstrations against the introduction of GST. He's been an active campaigner for anti-discrimination legislation, and he is the secretary of the Jersey Human Rights Group. More recently, he's been assisting workers voluntarily with work tribunals for those who have been unfairly dismissed. He's made submissions to the Carswell Review and to the Electoral Commission more recently. Nick Cornu is a qualified lawyer, and his expertise will be invaluable in a States Assembly which is having to deal increasingly with complex legislation. Finally, he is committed to the needs of St Helier residents. He is not somebody who will be lured in by the Old Boys network, but who will stand up and be a strong voice for the people of St Helier and the island. So on Wednesday the 5th, I ask you, if you live in St Helier number 1 district, please consider giving your vote to Nick Cornu. In district number 2, your Reform candidate is Sam Mezek. Sam is a young law graduate who will bring much needed energy and dynamism to the States Assembly. He was the founder of the group Reform Jersey in 2011 and made submissions and recommendations to the Electoral Commission. Sam has always spoken out for the needs of St Helier to have fair representation. He is a member of Unite the Union and also an active member of the Jersey Human Rights Group. He has been involved politically for over 6 years and represented Jersey at the Youth Parliament at Westminster. If elected, he will put the needs of ordinary islanders first and be a hard-working and articulate local deputy. If you are a resident of St Helier number 2, please consider giving your vote to Sam Mezek on the 5th of March. It is important that St Helier has representatives who will represent the socio-economic needs of the residents of the area. All too often, candidates are elected who have no interest or understanding of the numerous challenges facing St Helier residents. Because it's not possible for electors to vote for all States members, it's important that we find a way for the public to effectively influence policy direction. And the only way to do this, ultimately, is to elect people across the island who will be willing to stand on a collective policy platform. Sam and Nick will work constructively and collectively with myself and other like-minded States members to fight for social, economic and political reforms that will benefit lower and middle income earners who are currently being failed by the system. A vote for Sam Mezek and Nick Cornu is a positive vote for change and for long overdue reform of our system. On Wednesday the 5th of March, if you live in these 2 districts, I ask you to consider giving your vote to Sam Mezek and Nick Cornu.